All right, guys, got a fascinating article here from The Hill. 58% of voters open to backing independent candidate if faced with Biden and Trump. This is a new poll. 58% of voters said they were open to supporting a moderate independent presidential candidate in a contest between President Biden and former President Trump, according to a new Harvard CAPS Harris poll survey released exclusively to The Hill on Monday. So they say, the way they worded it, 58%. Supporting a moderate independent presidential candidate. Okay. Additionally, the survey found that majorities of voters said they do not want Biden or Trump to run in 2024. Of course, because we're always given the lesser evil thing every election here in the U.S. 63% of respondents said they did not want Biden to run for a second term, while only 37% said they did want him to run again in 2024. Though that number is astonishing, man. He's super unpopular. Meanwhile, 55% of respondents said they did not want Trump to run again in 2024. That's also a huge number. 45% said they thought the former president should run again. That number's on the high side, I think. Quote, America wants to move forward, not back, and if they are faced with a Trump-Biden choice, there will be an unprecedented opportunity for an independent candidate to run and win, said Mark Penn, the co-director of the Harvard CAPS Harris poll survey. I've never seen a number this high for an independent run. I don't know. I think I've seen 50% or maybe just above 50% previously, but now it's 58. That is the most, but they've been close, is my point. However, among their own bases, Trump and Biden are the top of the 2024 presidential tickets. 37% of voters said that if the Democratic presidential primary for the 2024 election were held today, they would vote for Biden, while 58% said they would vote for Trump. Trump has an iron grip on that Republican base, man. Iron grip. In a hypothetical matchup, 45% of respondents said they would vote for Trump, while 43% said they would vote for Biden. Damn. Speculation has swirled around whether Biden 79 and Trump 75 will find themselves in a rematch in the next presidential election. Political watchers and voters have questioned both of their ages as well as their unpopularity among voters. Trump, who is currently hitting the campaign trail for several GOP midterm candidates this year, has repeatedly floated a potential presidential run. Okay, so here's my takeaway on this. The poll shows 58% would support a moderate independent presidential candidate if it's Biden versus Trump. No, they will not. I assure you they will not. Now, why? Well, there's a number of reasons why. One of them is that the process is rigged. It's totally rigged. So if an independent candidate doesn't get on the debate stage, then people don't even think that's really a possibility. If the independent candidate isn't covered by the media, or if they are covered, they're covered, mockingly and derisively, that's going to hurt them as well. They don't even have ballot access. It's tough to get ballot access. And Ross Perot ran twice as, I think, an independent one year and maybe something else another year. Maybe independent both times. And he did better than any presidential candidate running as an independent in history. And I think he got 0 electoral college votes. So even though he managed to get like 16% or 19% or something like that of the vote, maybe even more than that, he didn't get any electoral college votes. So in theory, see, this is the thing. In theory, people say this, but then when it comes time to vote, they don't do that. Now, by the way, also with independents, they are divided. If people declare themselves, I'm an independent, that doesn't mean they're all similar in their ideology or their perspective. Oftentimes, you can have somebody who says that they're an independent, but they're libertarian leaning. Somebody says they're an independent, but they're left leaning and they're left of the Democratic Party. Somebody says they're independent, but they're moderate and sort of in the middle. They're centrist. So you have these people, everybody, one label for something that describes 5, 6, 7 different political philosophies and ideologies and outlooks. And so that they're not going to all come behind one candidate. Now, I will say, we're going to be able to test my theory, by the way, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're not going to have an independent who wins, even with 58% saying they would support an independent. Because here's what I think is going to happen in 2024. Mark Cuban is going to join Andrew Yang's Forward Party. He might even already be part of it. But I think Mark Cuban is going to run under the banner of the Forward Party and run as an independent for president. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. Now, they said here, 58% of voters said they were open to supporting a moderate independent presidential candidate. Okay, well, you're literally going to have that exact option. He's moderate in the sense that he does sort of position himself between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Now, you guys know what I think about the Overton window in this country, and the spectrum is way out of balance in this country, so even though he's a centrist, he's still relatively right-wing. But you're going to get somebody who, in the context of the U.S., is a moderate, who's going to run as an independent. It's very, very likely to happen. And when that happens, we'll see what he gets. We'll see what percentage of the vote he gets. between struggling to get into the debates, between the media either not covering or covering him somewhat mockingly, between rank partisanship that takes over, it ain't going to happen. And by the way, a lot of these independents who say this probably are not even quote unquote likely voters. So everybody could say in theory, yeah, I'd do that. But then when push comes to shove and you get in the voting booth, are you actually going to do it? Or are you even going to show up to get to the voting booth? So that's the thing. Look, if you ask me, I would love it if we had a system where you had more than just two options. We're a two-party system in the US. So let's reform that. Let's change that. You're not going to have an independent win while we have the current structures in place. It's just not going to happen. I wish it would, but it's just not going to happen. So what you need to do is you need to implement ranked choice voting. So this idea of a spoiler vote is no longer even theoretically possible. You implement ranked choice voting. I would love it if we reform more to like a parliamentary style system and included aspects of direct democracy more and things of that nature. But you have to reform the system in order to make it possible for candidates like that to have a chance. We have the Libertarian Party. I don't think they hold a single seat in Congress, single Senate seat, and obviously they don't hold the presidency. We have the Green Party. I don't think there's a single one in Congress or the Senate. Obviously not the president. We have all these various third parties. There's a reason why they perpetually underperform, and it's not their fault. It's really not. The system is rigged against them. So yes, 58% in theory might support a moderate independent presidential candidate over, a Democrat or a Republican, but it is just in theory, because when the rubber hits the road, rank partisanship comes out, the structural barriers pop up, and you have all the media issues pop up, and you have all these problems that basically make it impossible. So, and by the way, they made that more the case after Ross Perot, and they were like, he did better than we thought he would. Now let's try to ban anybody else from doing anything like this ever again. So, you got to reform the system. You got to do ranked choice voting. I'd love it if we made some deep systemic changes that actually give independent candidates, third-party candidates a better choice, or a better chance, I should say, at winning. But we unfortunately do not live in that world yet. Having said that, this is a high number, and this does speak to the discontent with our current system. Everybody knows every time they vote, it's lesser evil, lesser evil, lesser evil, and it turns a lot of people off to electoral politics. And what happens is a lot of the people who stay involved just have partisan brainworms, and then a lot of the people who aren't involved are just nihilistic and none of this even fucking matters. It's a lesser evil every time. And there are things to criticize there, but at the same time, the bulk of your criticism should be reserved for the system that makes people feel alienated, isolated, detached, like they have no control. It needs to change. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.